Welcome to Pins and Things. Today I am Cinderella, but I am also your fairy godmother who's going to show you how to turn a $17 wedding dress from the thrift store into this gorgeous Cinderella gown. Okay, so this one has a really cool story with it. I got this at the thrift store for $17. No joke. This hideous dress was only $17. I'm sorry if this was your wedding dress, but seriously, I feel like it's Halloween. That's what I feel like. The greatest thing about this though is with the two different dresses that I've got, you can see it in the other video, I'm actually going to use pieces of this dress to finish up my other dress. So I just wanted to show you how beautiful this looked like before I dyed it. So if you guys have ever seen the show Fixer Upper, I feel like I've just bought a house that's really super ugly and disgusting, and I'm about to fix it up and make it look gorgeous. If you want to see what the slips underneath look like, this is what they look like. I actually have two of them underneath. They're so stiff that they could probably stand up on their own. See, look. But this is what's gonna help it be super poofy like a princess dress. And I just got these from the thrift store. They were like 10 bucks each, so $20. Totally worth it. I'm ready to take off the sleeves on this one. The reason I'm taking off the sleeves is because these sleeves will work perfectly for the long part of the sleeve on Ariel's dress. And this is Cinderella's dress. She doesn't have any long sleeves. She actually wears white gloves. And so I'm going to take off these sleeves all the way, and we will make sure to not dye them blue so that we can use them for Ariel's dress. I'm just cutting along close to the seam. I want to get as much sleeve off as I can, but I also don't want to undo the seam completely because I don't want the material coming apart on me while I'm dyeing it. I just got it all cut off. And look, it's like an elephant trunk. I've almost got my second sleeve off here. And if you don't have a second dress to make, that's okay. You will have to tailor it to whatever kind of dress you ended up getting, because you never know what you're gonna get at the thrift store, right? But I'm already getting excited. And look, it's so funny. This had these little puff sleeve things underneath to give it more puff. So that will help me out actually when I get ready to put on her sleeves, because they're a lot like this. I'm already starting to see it take its shape and look a lot more beautiful in the bodice area. I'm not gonna take off this part yet because the top where this weird necklace choker thingy is, even though it's really ugly and I really want to take it off to see how beautiful it's gonna look, I feel like this will help because it's kind of a fragile area. I'm gonna actually leave it on just how it is right now, and then we're gonna dye it just like that. And then when I come back to it, and once it's all dry and everything, then I can cut this part off, and you can kind of see it's actually pretty sturdy. Especially if we went and double stitched over this whole area. We will be able to cut along this line here, all up through here, and just follow the entire line, outlining the neck area. And that's really a beautiful design that they have too. Once we're ready to cut that part off, I will show you, and it's gonna, I feel like that when I am able to cut that part off, it's gonna make all the difference. It's gonna completely change the look of the dress. This has a really big bow right here, and we're just gonna cut it off. Should I put it in my hair? Basically what I'm doing is reading the instructions on this RIT dye. This dye is for synthetics, and this one is called Kentucky Sky, and this is the one I'm going to be using for Cinderella. Remove any finishes before dyeing. So what I've done to remove the finishes is actually put it in the washer. Yes, I put the dry clean only dress that I bought at DI in the washer, and I have noticed that some of the beads and some of the sequins are coming off because they were glued on, but the dress is intact, and that's what's important. Use 1 bottle for 2 pounds of dry fabric, so you will need to weigh your dress to find out how much it weighs. For polyester, double the dye quantity, so I'm gonna need double the amount of dye for my polyester nylon dress that I'm about to do for Cinderella. Stovetop method is required for dyeing synthetic materials. So I'm gonna fill up the pot with enough water for fabric to move freely. The temperature will be from 180 to 212, anywhere in that range will work. I wanna maintain that same temperature throughout the whole dyeing process. Once it's at that temperature, I'm gonna add in all of my dye and mix it together. And then we've got our wet wedding dress that I already put through the washer that we're gonna go ahead and put into the dye mix. This is the part where it's gonna take 30 minutes, constantly stirring the pot with the dress in it just to make sure that we get the dress to the right color. And nylon dyes faster than 30 minutes. Our Cinderella dress is actually a polyester nylon, so we will have to see how quickly it dyes. And then I'm going to be rinsing it in my stainless steel sink over here until the water runs clear. No matter how your heart is grieving, if you keep on believing, the dreams that you wish will come true. Stir constantly. It's the moment of truth. We're gonna dump it and see how blue it is. So heavy.
Yeah.
Oh, be careful. That's dangerous, I think. Time to add ice cold water. Ooh, I think it looks actually really good. Well, what do you guys think? This is how the dress turned out. I think it's beautiful. It actually took the dye really well. The blue lace here actually took the dye better than anything else. But the rest of the dress, it almost looks white on camera, but it actually is a light blue color. So we're going to still use it. It's perfect, I think, for Cinderella. Overall, I think it took the dye pretty well. It's been drying all night, and now we're ready to hack up the top of it and turn it into our Cinderella dress. So I'm taking my scissors and I'm actually cutting right along this decorative area here. You definitely want to go with the natural flow of whatever the dress had on it before. Ta-da! As you can see, I've cut a little bit higher on this side just because I didn't have them to compare the two. But now that they're next to each other, I can see that I have 2 extra buttonhole loops that I can cut off now, and then it will be trimmed and perfect on both sides. Now it's trimmed and even on both sides. This might seem a little bit crazy, but hear me out. Cinderella usually has white puffy sleeves, but when I dyed this dress, this padding that was already underneath looks great. And so what I really want to do is eliminate all of the extra steps because I just want to make it look like Cinderella. As long as it's recognizable as, hey look, that's Cinderella. That's all I want. So I'm actually going to leave the sleeves blue. Doesn't it look gorgeous with all of the mesh cut out of the center? And to tie this blue into the rest of the dress, I am going to use blue for the puffs on the sides. So we've eliminated having to make sleeves for this dress. What I'm gonna do is trim up the rest of this that's kind of too fluffy, and you can tell that where I cut off sleeves, I'm gonna just trim up the rest of that so that it's not ugly looking and leave it just the way it is. I have just over a yard here. It's about 40 inches of material of blue that I'm going to be using for the puffs on the side. This is 2 rectangles pinned together, and they measure 45 inches by about 20 inches. Now I have a platter from the kitchen, and I'm actually going to use it to give the right curve to the bottom of the corners. Now to help it match up, we're going to fold one side, the cut side, over to the side that's not cut to make sure that they match on both sides. Now that I have those pieces all cut out, it's time to hem the edges. And I'm actually going to use a rolled hem for the curves. At the top of the curve, I have sewn 3 base stitches, and now I'm actually gathering the top by holding on to the 3 on top and just pulling it. I'm gonna pull it until it's at 16 inches because that's half of my waist. Okay, so I'm wearing it right now to show you the sleeves. I just kind of puffed up what was already there from underneath the other sleeves. I have it tried on, and I actually have these pinned on. You can see how I have them pinned on. They're just pinned on the sides, and I'm making sure to put this right in the same line with the other seam. So I'm going to be pinning it right there, and I think once I pin and sew it on, it will match up really well and it will look really beautiful. Also, I'm lucky because I have this thing in the front that goes over where they're pinned, so that really ties it up well and makes it look like I didn't hand make it. And we'll make a lovely dress for Cinderella. I'm finally finished, and I'm so happy about how it turned out. I love it. It needs to have a ribbon at the neck. It needs to have white gloves, and hair with a blue headband and pearl earrings, and I think that really sells it. It really helps to make sure people know it's Cinderella. After sewing on these little poof parts at the top, and that part was a little bit harder than I thought, but I mean, so simple compared to how much you would have to do making it from scratch, right? After doing the top part and gathering it, sewing it on, I actually gathered the bottom part too. I did a small gather along all of the part that wasn't curved, so the long part. After that was over, I still didn't feel like it had quite enough of a poof, so I actually took one long safety pin. I pinned about every 2 inches and did it all along until I felt like when I laid it down, it poofed enough and it looked right. I found these shoes at the thrift store for $4. In total, we added everything up, it came to $30 or around $30 for everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I have more videos like this coming soon. Also, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I do giveaways on there every now and then, so it's definitely worth your while. Check out my other Halloween videos over here and follow me every day on the Beach House, which is my daily vlogging channel. We will see you guys next time. I've never told you guys this, but if I were a Disney princess as a child, it would have been Cinderella. So this is like a childhood dream come true.